They actually have a plan for today's Nice Guys on Business podcast. You don't want to miss it.
It's like, do you want to risk not being able to get any more opportunities, or you just want to do it right and build your podcast and grow with us? We're going to be providing so many tools and so many opportunities for people to get up into that next range of listenership so that they can actually build and get higher offers.
So tell me, when the time is right, will you be ready for the Nice Guys on Business? Oh yeah. Go from where you are now to where you could be. Get expert tips to grow your business, to be more productive and more efficient, whether you're trying to build influence, grow your community, or make it rain. Best-selling author of Nice Guys Finish First, Doug Sandler, can lead the way. The Nice Guys on Business is produced by TurnKey Podcast Productions. Now, here's your host, Doug Sandler.
Okay, welcome back to another exciting episode of the Nice Guys on Business. And if you are tuned in to the TurnKey podcast, you are listening live to this as well. Well, live as a podcast could be. So if you're tuned into any degree of podcasting, this will be a cool episode for you. The solutions provider within the podcasting industry is today's guest. His name is Tom Donohue, and he works diligently solving complex issues with the space, including helping those that struggle with monetizing their show, grow their community, and maybe even scale their podcast related to their full-time business to make it a full-time gig, or at least one step closer to a full-time gig. We're talking about the life's blood to keeping the lights on in podcasting, helping those in the space create an income stream. Tom, I'm excited to talk to you. This is one of those subject matters that's a little bit touchy when it comes to podcasters and exactly what they think their show was going to be about versus what they thought their show was going to be. So welcome to the Nice Guys on Business and the TurnKey podcast.
Absolutely. Thank you, Doug. And thank you for that introduction. And you're exactly right. It's a big thing to think about. And I've been in podcasting myself for about 3 years now professionally. Before then, I was editing, episodes here and there with some friends, but then actually made the jump professionally into the podcasting world through Kitcaster, which you also know. Right now, we're working on Wildcast as a way to address that monetization situation for small to medium-sized podcasts, which, we realized through Kitcaster was an issue. So we partnered with Wildcast and ultimately merged together to create this new awesome platform that I'm going to tell you about.
All right. Now, if you are listening to this, whether it's on TurnKey or the Nice Guys on Business, you may not have any idea what we're talking about, or even, how, okay, you guys can make money podcasting. You're just a dumb shit, Doug. How can you actually do this? And I'm not saying anything about Tom, but he's the one that chose to be on the show. So I don't know. Dumb shits sometimes hang out together, Tom. Not calling you any names here, but
that's all right.
I'm just messing with them. Okay, so when people, and we've been podcasting now for, since February of 2015, so a little over 8 years we have been podcasting. And one of the big misconceptions about podcast monetization, meaning where's the money made in podcasting, is that most people have the point of view of a Joe Rogan or Tim Ferriss or Tony Robbins, in that let's grow a big community or have a big community of millions of people. We're going to make all this money advertising and we're going to get rich and go to the bank. The challenge is with most normal people like you and me, Tom, and most of the guys that are out there that are podcasting, we're going to get a fraction. And when I'm talking about a fraction, 0.1% of what those big names get in the podcasting world in terms of listenership and downloads. So it doesn't necessarily equate real easily to advertising and sponsorship is going to be my way to make money. However, Wildcast is in the process of changing that game completely. So I want to give you a chance maybe to share a 35,000 foot approach with what Wildcast is, how the model works. And then again, Nice Guy community and TurnKey podcast community, we're going to come back and explain how this actually would fit into your world if you've ever considered starting a podcast, or if you have one and are just figuring out how the hell do I make any money at this? I'm not Joe Rogan and Tim Ferriss. So give me that 35,000 foot approach, Tom. And sorry for talking your ear off. I just wanted to set a little stage here to get this conversation going in the right direction.
Absolutely. And that's the perfect place to start, because that's where we started with the idea. So what we've seen and how everyone does look at podcast monetization is from that 35,000 foot view, where you got hundreds of thousands of listeners, hundreds of thousands of downloads. With Ferriss, Rogan, you're into the millions. And, the advertisers also looking at it from that view too. They're thinking about impressions, and through podcasting, with the kind of lack of attribution enablement and also the lack of audience demographics available in the podcasting world, we figured, okay, maybe, just going for the most reach might not be the best way to do this.
Right.
Because that's one of the only numbers that you can get right now. So we're trying to make the podcasting game kind of be brought up to speed with the rest of the marketing world. And I'll pause on that for a second and just say, the main idea here is to take those big marketing budgets that would go into a single placement on Rogan or a single placement on Tim Ferriss, which you're talking big marketing spend to just get a single advertisement on those shows. What Wildcast does is it takes those bigger budgets and it disperses it across a much wider array of smaller, more niche focused podcasts. So let's say you have, just as an example, I got a record player right here. Let's say you got a record player company, they're just strictly looking for music enthusiasts. Some advertisers might just say, all right, let's just spend the big bucks and get as much reach as we can. Whatever. They're going to buy the Rogan ad slot. But if they came through Wildcast, we would take that big budget and distribute it to podcasts based on, one, reach, obviously, because that's always going to be a factor, but two, relevancy to the actual ad campaign. So we are taking that record player ad and we're placing it on music enthusiast podcasts, sound design podcasts, anything to do with music, records, whatever, so that advertiser can reach the most qualified audience and still obtain the numbers that they would get on a bigger podcast, just spread across a wider base of shows.
And let me add to that just the yes and, because the reality of it is that people oftentimes come to the podcasting space with a radio mentality, meaning broadcast, more equals better. In the world of podcasting, we're not actually looking to broadcast, we're looking to narrowcast. I have a show called Ford Mustang The Early Years, and primarily my audience, the listeners to that show, are only people that are tuned into that first generation 65 to 67, 68 Mustangs. And that is a much smaller market. I will never have millions of listeners to that show. However, you talk to an advertiser that deals specifically in parts and services to that community, and it's a gold mine. You have an opt-in of let's say, instead of a 0.2%, you'll have a 20 to 30% opt-in for people that are actually focused on that, servicing that community. So Tom has got it right on the head. What we want to do is we want to make sure that we're focused. We're narrowcasting our message to a specific engaged community. And what better way to do that than to have some of that information from the host? The challenge I have found, and maybe you can help with this and as a part of your messaging here, the challenge is that because Apple and Spotify and the big boys are so tight-lipped with, other than a download, we have no idea who's listening to our show. We may know male or female, but we're not going to know, the age category, unless we are literally having our audience opt into a lead magnet that we are asking them to answer a couple of questions. How are we getting that information from our listeners? What would be your best bet at that, or your best answer with that?
Absolutely. So, right now, the best that I've seen, Spotify can get some of those demographics from their streamers. These are people who are paying their subscription. They have a little bit of information, but even if if I log into my Spotify right now, they don't know. Really, what they know is that I live in Colorado.
Right. Exactly.
And that's pretty much it. They know my name is Tom. They don't know what gender I am. They don't know how old I am, because I never had to enter any of that information into Spotify.
But why? And again, you're closer to this, and maybe this is going down a rabbit hole that we don't need to go down for the sake of sharing this message. But if I get on YouTube, not only will they tell me all of that, or can I get all that demographic information, but I can get the amount of time I'm listening, when I actually clicked into that video, when I clicked out of that video, what clicks that I made when I was in that video. Why don't other platforms do the same thing? And again, if this is not your area of expertise, please head me in a different direction.
This is actually where, we're focusing on this exact type of thing. And, it's going to take a much more advanced and a much more enabled podcast streaming platform for the advertisers to be able to receive that type of demographic information on the back end. And it's something that, ultimately is an end goal for us. Right now, the best that you can get in podcasting is directly from the host. Now,
right. And hosts lie. Unfortunately, they're all going to lie because they want that advertising dollar, or they want you to opt into whatever you're pitching.
They do, exactly. And, that's the issue here. That's the issue that Wildcast in the long run is looking to address. Right now, even you as a host, I'm sure you don't really have the most accurate information about your exact demographics that are listening,
correct,
who those people are, what they do, as you would be able to if you advertised on literally any other service. I mean, YouTube gives you a ton because they're Google and they have everything on everyone. But yeah, it's right now with the streaming platforms available and, the main hitters in podcasting, Apple, Spotify, you got iHeartMusic, a couple other really big ones.
Right.
They're just not collecting that demographic information. And ultimately, the way that we see it is that in the long run, it's going to take an actual new platform to surface that's going to be able to provide all that stuff.
Right. And just again, if you're listening to this wondering, well, what's the solution here? There may not be a solution to understanding the demographics. It doesn't matter. Whatever the demographics are, they are. As a matter of fact, the best way for you to determine what your demographics are if you have a particular podcast, and this is only going to give you some partial picture, is if you have any level of engagement on social media using your podcast as the tool, follow that over to that channel. Let's say Instagram. For my Ford Mustang podcast, I know that because I can get some really good in the pro board, the pro creator board, I can find out that 98% of the people that listen to that are in my Instagram channel are men, 2% are women. I can even tell the age range. Chances are good that your podcast audience will probably mirror that, but not a guarantee. So you can always go to an advertiser and say, well, here's what I know based upon my social media engagement. But that's only if you're willing to go to that step with your podcast. And if you have a passion podcast, you probably aren't doing it for a full-time gig. You'd like to make some money at it. And again, that's partly what we're going to talk about today. But I just wanted to set the proper stage for those of you that are listening, trying to figure out, well, how does this actually apply to me? Well, here's how it applies to you. We're about to share with you right now where the money comes from and how Tom and his group actually at Wildcast do the work that they're going to do, and what this new platform that he is introducing will share with you. Then at the end of this episode, probably in about the next 15 minutes, we'll give you an opportunity to have access to it. There is no sale here. It's just what we're trying to do with Tom's company right now is collecting podcasters for the sake of, if we get enough people in the pool, we can then be attractive to a series of advertisers that want to spend their money, which would be a revenue share for you if you're in Tom's pool. So let's talk about the money, how it comes to those that are smaller, normal people in the market, getting well less than let's say 1,000 downloads per episode, which is probably 99% of the people that are out there. So what's in it for them? How do they do it? And what's the next step for them to take, Tom?
Absolutely. And just real quick to wrap that up, that whole demographic discussion, the raw data, that is the biggest barrier to a huge amount of advertiser money that might be interested in using podcasting, that's using all of these other digital solutions that give those things. That's just not allowing them to hop in yet because they're afraid. They don't know what they're going to get. But the real thing that we know is that there's a podcast out there for everything. And we also know that there's 100 podcasts out there about everything. Really what it comes down to is for specific product lines and specific offerings, if you can get down to those niche audiences, you'll at least know that they're interested in those little shows that they're listening to.
Okay.
And that they trust the hosts.
All right. And trusting the hosts, that's one thing. How do we get down to the figuring out, like I look at it and I can tell a pro podcaster from an amateur podcaster just by, number one, number of episodes they have out. Secondly, number of reviews that they have out. And thirdly, the quantity or the frequency at which they put out their content. So if I see somebody that's got 1,000 episodes, but has 4 reviews, I'll know that this is somebody that's just churning out content and they're just trying to, to ride every edge that they can possibly ride.
Yeah.
They put them out, every so often. If I see somebody that has, 200 podcast episodes, they put out consistently for the last 4 years, an episode a week, and they have 150 reviews. I'm like, oh, well, that's somebody that is definitely attracted. And they're not just 5-star reviews. They are people that have written words for the reviews. Now I know a little bit more about, is this person really a legitimate podcaster or not? So can you talk to that for a second, and then let's get into a little bit more about the details of how you do what you do?
Yes, those are the key metrics, honestly, for us as well. At the moment, we're looking at episode cadence. We're looking at real reviews, like you said, not just a 5-star, but somebody typing something and saying, hey, this is what I thought about the show, whatever. Length of episodes, length of the podcast, like how long they've been publishing for.
Mm-hmm.
We take all of these things into account to kind of draw a picture of what the show looks like. And then also, these are the key metrics that all of these platforms, Chartable, Listen Notes, other podcasting platforms, are using as well to try to estimate how many listeners a show might have, because the only person who really knows is the host, and they might not even know the most accurate number, because they just see the number that comes through their hosting provider that's kicked back to them through Apple, Spotify, the download metric. So
typically, what are you hoping for, since this is a new platform out there and introducing and collecting all of this pool of podcasters? What was your win for? What does a win look like for a podcast host that joins your collective and is now starting to receive some revenue? What are you thinking is a good win for them?
Absolutely. A good win for a smaller sized host that is looking to get into monetization. If you have a show that focuses on specific topics, you have at least a consistent user base. I would say somewhere to start would be around 100 listeners per episode that you post.
Fair, very fair.
And if you're posting a couple times a month, you can consider 100 listens for 3 episodes a month. That now you're getting up to the 300, 400 listenership range, which collected. Those are impressions. And this is what advertisers are looking for. If they do an Instagram ad and the same person sees that ad 5 times, Instagram isn't going to go back and tell them, oh, this was just 1 view. That's 5 views. Right. I mean, you're getting brand recognition by reaching the same people consistently. So what we look for is shows who are, maybe they're not just starting out, but they have some people who do listen regularly and occasionally, and they also have some sort of direction in the content that they're putting out. They're not just talking about completely random things, right? Because we take all of that information. We actually, super exciting, it's not going to be live in this very first version, but we're tying in with some awesome AI providers that actually, diagnose every episode of the show that's signing up with us and tell us exactly, what topics do they talk about consistently?
Nice.
What types of issues are they discussing? And we use that information to match them with the advertisers. So based on relevancy to the actual product being advertised, that specific podcast might get a higher offer to accept a specific campaign.
And I know would be a range, and I know it's hard to say, but I hate to put you on the spot here, but I think that our listeners are listening and thinking, okay, well, what does that mean to me? How much could that mean to me?
The first question is, how much am I going to make by signing on to this? And
right, exactly. That's everybody's thinking that. It's like, how do I make money, and how much money can I make?
So yeah, it's really going to depend on the specific show. The platform allows for networks or people with multiple shows to register multiple shows to the same account and accept offers for each. But when it really boils down, you're looking at the CPM, which is the cost per 1,000 really listeners that person is achieving, and in relation to the relevance to the actual campaign. So we create a proprietary relevancy score. And this might all sound confusing, but I'm going to wrap it up in a second. They will have a relevancy score for each specific campaign. And then that, combined with the actual listenership that they receive on the episode, which will be reported on the back end, will determine how much they're going to make off of a predetermined CPM value offer. So let's just say TurnKey podcast as an example. And sorry, Doug, I don't
That's
know
all right.
what your numbers are at all, but let's just say, 1,000 to 5,000, just to keep numbers simple, is like your standard fluctuating range of listeners.
Mm-hmm.
So if there was a product or a campaign offer that was very applicable to what your show
wants to
about.
advertise microphones.
Exactly.
So they're advertising podcast microphones to a podcast listening audience. It sounds like a pretty direct hit. Okay.
Exactly. Your podcast starter kit, whatever from.
Right. So that's going to have a higher score, a higher relevancy score than, let's say, somebody that's trying to sell a rewards program to a gas station, which would be a more general approach to any podcast audience that has drivers that are listening to the podcast. Okay, yeah. I get it.
Exactly.
This is good.
So that, let's just say, Shore's going through TurnKey podcasts. We are making an offer to TurnKey, and keep in mind, you don't have to accept any offer. You might say, this one's not for me. I don't like this product, or this offer is not worth it for me based on my production value. Whatever that is. But anyway, Wildcast will take that campaign in. We go seek out all of the podcasts that match. We say, hey, TurnKey's a perfect match. They talk to podcasters. We will take that relevancy score, which in your place would be 99, 100%.
Right.
Because you're talking to the exact people they want to reach. And then we look at your reported numbers to us that you report in the beginning. So each time you do a campaign, you're going to report again, obviously. But in the beginning, you'll say, okay.
Is a report just like a screen share of my or a screenshot of my hosting platform that says I've gotten 990 downloads of that or of all of my episodes over the course of the month?
Exactly. So we'll ask for a monthly metric, and then we'll ask for a per episode metric. And then, every hosting provider is different. Sometimes they have like exports like CSVs and stuff,
right.
or screenshots, whatever. And listen, we know people are going to lie, but we also know people are going to do the right thing.
Right.
And that's it's an issue that
we're also
constantly addressing.
The results will prove it. Sure. If I go to Shore and say I have 1,000 listens, and at the end of the month, I say, well, I have 1,000 listens. It's exactly what I reported. And they get literally 0 people to opt in on any offer that they have. It's at their option whether they want to continue or not. Anyway,
exactly.
It's everybody's best interest to share the honest answer, because short-lived income for 30 days or 90 days is not going to be a hill of beans, and it could potentially tarnish your reputation, because Tom now knows, look, that guy Sandler, he said that he's got 1,000 downloads, and I now have 4 of his shows, and I haven't gotten one person to buy. Either he is BS, or he has people that aren't listening to his podcast, or something's up.
Exactly. Like, let's say you actually went in and said, I got 100,000 to 500,000 listeners. And then, we ultimately get a pretty good idea that you probably have a lot less than that. Wildcast reserves the right to just not send any more offers to you, or to try to reach out and get some more verifiable proof from your hosting provider through you. So it's like, do you want to risk not being able to get any more opportunities, or you just want to do it right and build your podcast and grow with us? We're going to be providing so many tools and so many opportunities for people to get up into that next range of listenership, so that they can actually build and get higher offers. So let's just finish that example real quick.
Yep.
Let's say, Shore's coming to you. It's 100% relevancy because it's exactly who you're talking to. Wildcast might come out and say, okay, he typically gets 1,000 to 5,000 listeners throughout the month. You have the opportunity to put this ad on as many episodes as you want that month to build up as high as you can. And just for roundness sake, let's say we gave you a super high CPM offer of like $100.
Okay.
So that we can just do easy math here. Let's say you came back after you posted it on as many episodes as you want that month. You're going to report back to us on the back end 30 days after the last post that you made. So you're going to come back and say, hey, I ended up getting 4,500 listeners. Now, since that offer was for $100 CPM value, 100 times 4.5,
right?
You got $450 for the month.
Okay. And again, it all depends on the math. It all depends on the offer. There's a number of different, I don't think, and I'm sure Tom is not avoiding at all creating the example. We've just created the example. The answer to how much money can you make using this tool is it depends. There are a number of things. There's a relevancy score, which completely makes sense. There's a volume score, which completely makes sense. And there is a verification score, which has to a degree, match up with your your onboarding number. So all of those things get put into a formula at the end of the month or the end of the term or whatever the term is. You will determine, or you guys determine, based upon the offer that look, we might have a brand new sponsor come into the space and they may want to make a big hit and are willing to take on everybody at a higher rate because they want to have a lot of brand recognition up front, as opposed to a company like Exxon that might already have all the brand recognition out there and just wants to get their name out there a little bit more into some of the smaller markets. So all of those things get put into the equation. I think what attracted me so much to this in the beginning, Tom, and continues to attract me, is that the fact that we have, I don't know, between 60 and 70 clients, let's say, that all have the option of opting in, and we're a network and we're just literally coming to you with this network of podcasts that all of our clients. It certainly seems like it would make your job as relationship and sales coordinator a little bit easier rather than go onesie twosie with a lot of the shows that are out there.
Well, exactly. So that's why we built in that kind of networking feature where, and I'm not sure if you do this for every show that you got out there, Doug, but sometimes networks actually manage all the advertisements for every show that's within there.
We have no arrangement with any advertising supplier at all. We talk about advertising, but we also talk about the downside of advertising. One, you have to sell your time to a advertiser. And if you're getting only a couple hundred downloads per episode, is it worth your time for the $35 you're making for the couple hundred downloads? And that's on a high side to actually put that advertise and be kind of responsible for that, for your messaging even more clearer. Yeah. And to do an ad, because that's the other thing. Also, sometimes they're not pre-recorded. As a matter of fact, a lot of the sponsors want you to do live reads halfway through your episode because that's when your audience is the most engaged with your content. So a lot of those things go into the equation. Give me the upside and give me the downside for, let's talk upside first of all. This brings advertising to an environment that wouldn't normally be attractive to a sponsor. Is there any other upsides to it than that? That's how I see it, at least.
Sure. Off of that, you're bringing your advertisements to much more niche audiences by specifically targeting those smaller, more involved audiences. The advertiser, to be able to find, 100 shows that are a good match for sure, would just take their marketing department way too long. That's why we've kind of developed the right matching system within our technology to do that for them. So one, you're reaching a much more niche audience, which is providing much more qualified leads for the product that you're trying to offer. On the podcaster side, the bonus is, and especially for the majority of shows out there, you are now getting access to advertising opportunities that even if, you got a couple hundred listeners up to, the low thousands of listeners, even if it's not, enough to make you quit your day job, you're going to have an opportunity to monetize. And, that when people ask the question, how much, the answer is,
it depends.
It depends, but probably more than you were making before.
And just keep this in mind as you're listening to this. If you're either in the podcasting space, considering the podcasting space, or wherever you are, it doesn't put you in a position where you've just created another job for yourself. Because let me tell you, if you're out there pitching advertising and sponsorship to people that potentially could sponsor, you are creating another job for yourself. You have to create lead magnets for that. You have to create an email sequence. You have to create. Do you think you're actually going to reach these marketing departments on the phone? No, you're actually going to have to connect with them. Tom and his group are doing all of the legwork. And I always tell everybody, if you're out there selling advertising space, you've just created for yourself, in addition to podcasting, another job. And in some cases, it's even harder, and it's not anywhere near as exciting as creating your content. let Tom and his team do it. You don't want to do it. They are going to take a share of the revenue, but so what? You aren't going to make that revenue anyway.
Yeah, our goal is to make, this as attractive as possible to our podcasters because they're what makes the platform work. We figured, why not just get everyone together? And by everyone, I'm talking about all the small to medium size, even large podcasts have a place on Wildcast. They might already be getting advertising offers. So, people who have their rate cards established and all that type of stuff could be signing on. And, maybe they're getting different types of deals because if we're saying, hey, we're going to give you this CPM offer and they got millions of downloads,
right?
It's like there's a large amount of budget management that goes into this, as with any marketing campaign.
Hey,
so
just
get everyone onto one platform, allow the advertiser to get their money into podcasting, and allow the smaller guys to get a little bit of it without having to go crazy trying to find these ads.
All right, talk to me about the beginning stages, the onboarding process. How much do I need to make? Do I need to make a media sheet? Do I need to get how much information? How much of my time as a podcaster am I going to spend giving you the collection of information that you need in order to start pitching me to in the pool of others that do what I do?
You could submit everything. If you're already logged into your hosting provider and you get some screenshots together, you could submit everything in 5 minutes for one podcast. So
okay, 5 minutes.
Yeah. So you get on, you'll create an account on Wildcast. You'll come in, and keep in mind for the people listening, there's going to be extensive documentation, tutorials, everything on our website. By the time you're even hearing this, it's all going to be there and ready for you. So you sign on and you go to the My Podcast section. You can add a new podcast right there. You're going to have to upload your cover art. You're going to type in name of the podcast, name of the host. You're going to copy and paste your show notes over from wherever you got it. And then you're going to give us your best estimates on what your audience might look like. Some people are going to have a much better idea because they have their social interaction, all that stuff. Maybe they've polled their audience before. Some people are not going to really know, and that's okay. Just give your best estimate at this point. And then you're within that same form, you're going to submit those screenshots that we had discussed earlier from your hosting provider, giving us, what does your monthly overall downloads look like? And what do your downloads look like per episode? Then once that's submitted, you're in our system, and, we go on the back end as well and kind of figure out what is the show about, all this stuff, because we have the ability to filter and search, all that,
right?
All the back end legwork. That's it. So once you sign up, you have the ability to now receive offers. And then on the back end, once you do receive an offer, the last thing that you have to give us is a tax form, because we need to know that to pay you.
Of course, all of that stuff for 1099 would completely make sense. So I know through my experience with Meta, now I'm not saying that you guys are Meta, which is Instagram and Facebook, for those that may not know that out there. I have the ability through my Mustang podcast, which has a social media channel, to solicit potential sponsors. And I pick the ones that I think would be a good fit, and I wait, and I wait, and I wait. What are the chances that somebody's going to go through this, even 5 minutes of work or whatever it is, to get you the information that you need? What are the chances that they're going to submit this feeling like they have a good shot and just not hearing from anybody? How quickly are you ready to get people into action once you start collecting their information and them signing up for you?
Absolutely. That's a great question. And the answer right off the bat is we're taking signups right now. So you can expect it to be at this point, especially. And who knows, if we get a big sale tomorrow that wants to just do broad reach across all podcasts, there might be something up next week. But, I think you can expect, once you get your stuff signed up and put in, I think you could expect to wait, in all honesty, probably at least a month or two before you see something come through. And you might see something come through that's like, we might even we're considering advertising Wildcast through Wildcast with our advertising dollars. So you might see something come through like a practice gig for you. Like, what's the deliverable that you need from your host clients? Oh, so what do they deliver after they've accepted an opportunity?
Yeah, so they've accepted an offer. Let's say that Wildcast has a. Let's not use Wildcast; it's too meta for us to try to work in that circle. But let's say that Goodyear Tires says, "Hey, I want to be advertising on this auto show, so I'm gonna make an offer." We all work things out. What does Goodyear expect as their deliverable from the show that has said, "Hey, I want to move forward with this"?
Absolutely. So a little background on that. Goodyear will provide a PDF template that we have created, and it will give the host everything that they need to be able to either complete a pre-recorded ad on their show, essentially the file to insert, or a host read ad on the show. So it's going to be a standardized template that each advertiser will fill out, and that gets distributed to everybody who's obviously offered the campaign. And then once you as a podcaster have accepted that campaign, there's a deadline. You can see the deadline before you accept. You can see the CPM value before you accept to make the decision. It's like, hey, before this deadline, I don't have any episodes that are going to be airing, so I can't even accept this one. I'll just leave it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you say, oh, great, by then I'll be able to put this on 2-3 episodes, I think I'll be able to get a good reach number, you accept it. Between the time that you accept and the deadline, you can place that advertisement on as many episodes as you'd like to contribute to your reach number. But once you get to that deadline, you have to submit the links to each episode that it's been on. And that first submission right there, this is all happening in platform, by the way, but that first submission right there is just the links to the episodes that you placed it on and the number of episodes. So you say, I put it on 4 episodes, you copy and paste 4 links into the platform, and you just type, it's on 4 episodes. You submit. Once you do that, 1 month later or 30 days later, there will be a new deadline, which is when you will confirm the reach for those episodes, which is just another round of screenshots from your hosting provider. We'll need screenshots per episode on the overall reach, and then
got it. It sounds like there's several steps that have to be taken. None of them are complicated. They're all a matter of just documenting what you have done. They want proof that the ad was actually run. They want proof of how many people have potentially listened, and then how many people actually do listen to the show. It sounds like there's no commitment from the host in terms of what hosting platform they like. If I'm on Libsyn, I don't have to move over to Wildcast as my host, right? No. There's no commitment other than the advertising side. Hosting. Right. I got it. I just want to make sure that there's no catch to it. Not that you're trying to bait and switch or anything like that, but just to make sure that there is no commitment from the podcaster other than putting the offer out there, receiving an offer from a potential sponsor, running the ad, and documenting what they have as their downloads. And it seems like it's just going to get in the rhythm of that as you continue going through. Did I miss anything in there?
Absolutely. There's no podcaster commitment whatsoever. You don't even have to accept the opportunities that get sent to you. Even if you do accept an opportunity and you end up not being able to fulfill that opportunity, there's no retaliation on your side. If it's something that you typically do, you accept things and then you don't deliver, we might be less inclined to send you as many offers. But
and on the other side of it too is
you're
that you're not in trouble, but you're also not getting paid unless you actually deliver what you say you're going to deliver. It's not like anybody's going to. Tom and his gang are not coming after you for the $150 that they gave you last month in promises of you running an advertisement.
Exactly.
Again, really different in Tom's world than the world of going out there and finding your own sponsors. Let me just play it out for you, just so you know. If I, as TurnKey Podcast, decide that I want to go out there on my own and find a sponsor, I go out to Shure, I make a deal with Shure, I tell Shure, hey, I want you to pay me, and I'm asking for the money up front. I then don't deliver to Shure. Shure now comes back to me and says, look, you didn't deliver, or you didn't get me the downloads that you promised me. None of that shit do you have to deal with. Not that you don't want to be 100% honest with whoever your sponsor is, but the legitimacy of what Tom's company provides to the equation is an essential component in your success in finding sponsors. He takes the sponsorship hassle out of the way, and for that, he earns not a fee from you, but a percentage, I'm assuming, again, help me if I'm wrong here, a percentage of what advertising dollars are brought in. We don't even see that as the host. I'm assuming that whatever it is that we make the deal, it's not that minus your fee equates to what we get, right?
No,
we make
exactly.
the deal, and the deal is what it is.
Yeah, like a networking fee, Wildcast gets their fee from the actual advertiser,
right?
And we have a budget to distribute to podcasts. The podcast is not seeing anything skimmed off of their offer from Wildcast at all.
Right.
You're getting let's say you got a $10 CPM offer, again, for math's sake, and you got 2,000 listeners, that's $20. You got 5,000 listeners, that's $50. Even if your report was 1,000 to 5,000 listeners and you ended up getting, maybe it was a really bad month, 800 listeners, that's still $8. But one key thing to mention, if you got 1,000 to 5,000 listeners, and that's the range that you got your offer in, and that's the numbers that we know that you hit, but like maybe this is a crazy month and you ended up getting, oh my God, I just got 25,000 listeners, my show just blew up. For budget distribution sake, for that job that you're submitting for that ended up getting 25,000 when we thought you're only going to get 5, there's a max payout for that. But once you submit that and you've reached $25,000 or 25,000 listeners, excuse me, now you're in that higher up range, category. And the next job that you get can be worth much more.
Totally worthwhile, not only from a deliverable perspective, but the way in which the model is put together. It's the ideal model that you want to jump into if you are someone that wants to make money advertising with your show. Don't feel like you have enough of an audience to go at it alone, and certainly don't want to go out there and pitch your own advertising dollars. It's the ideal environment. Will this make you Joe Rogan money? Absolutely not. You are not going to. But then again, you are not Joe Rogan, and you don't want to be Joe Rogan.
Exactly.
This is just a way for you to offset maybe some of the production costs. Hint, hint. If you're not using TurnKey Podcast, what the heck is going on? But it helps you offset some of the production costs for your show, or it just helps kind of give you feel like there's some, if you're a capitalist and you want to create a monetary environment that your podcast is like, hey, now I'm making $20 a week using my show. Or, don't turn up your nose at a few $100 a month, because the opportunity for you to make a few $100 a month is absolutely there with a small, modest size, highly niched audience. This is a good opportunity time.
Absolutely.
And, I'm throwing my hat in the ring. Nice Guys, TurnKey, my Ford Mustang podcast, and my truck podcast. Those 4, I mean, it's a done deal already. I already know that these, awesome. We're going to be jumping into this. Plus, I think we talked about this before we even did this episode. I want to get you into an environment where we can talk to all of our clients at one time, or just maybe do a pre-recorded thing like this where I can then share it with my audience and see if we can get some of my clients, so we can see if we can get some of them to opt into your program.
Absolutely. We're happy to. And like we said before, it's a no loss scenario. The loss that you might see is the 5 minutes that it took you to just enter your podcast information.
Yep.
There's no obligation. There's no, commitment by you. There's no membership fee to sign up for this. It's just an opportunity. And like you said, don't turn your nose up at $100 a month, because you weren't making anything before that in a lot of the cases. And
your commitment is not that grand. If you feel like, well, I don't want to commercialize my show, well, then fuck it, don't do this. I mean,
then you don't have to sign up, and that's totally fine too.
Don't sign up then. If you want to make a couple of dollars and you're not making those couple dollars now, or if you want to make, a pretty good, this is the stepping stone. It's like, well, how do I get to make $1,000 or $1,500 or $2,000 a month in advertising? Well, you got to start at $100 first.
Exactly.
We'll figure out how to get you to the next level. And then you actually do some of the strategies. Again, this is not a plug for TurnKey. Most of my money, 90% of the money that we make from our show is not coming from advertising and sponsorship. It's coming from turning our guests into clients, turning our guests into referral sources, turning our relationships that we build into joint venture partners, turning our relationships into affiliate members, turning a good episode into, I don't really know where it fits for us to do some work together, but can we spend some time talking about it, doing this kind of stuff? This is where you make money podcasting. One of the revenue streams is advertising and sponsorship. And this is exactly why we brought Tom on the show today, just to share this kind of stuff with you. Any final wrap-up words? Anything I'm missing, Tom? Anything that you want to share?
No, that's it. And, I think we've gone over everything pretty deeply. There will be those people who leverage the hell out of Wildcast and do make that money on here. It's just a given. People are going to figure it out and know how to do it. But no, I mean, everything has gone, everything we've touched on pretty well. By the time this airs, which I know some people are
tomorrow, Tom, it's tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. So by the time people are listening, you can already go on the website and sign up. So you're going to go to gowildcast.com. That is the website. So get over there. You'll see all the information that you're going to need, and you could just sign up. Maybe give it a couple weeks before you expect to see anything come through in terms of an opportunity, but you'll get an email notification the second you got something available. But yeah, sign up, get your stuff submitted. If you have multiple podcasts, feel free to put multiple podcasts on the same account. And then, we have a ton of resources in the pipeline to help people grow into that next year. Maybe you eventually grow out of the platform and you're just getting offers left and right. So that's the goal. We're all trying to help podcasters as a community. We're podcasters ourselves. We know how annoying it is to try to get even a little bit of money in the door through this industry. So the whole goal is to just build and work together.
All right, man. I appreciate you being here. And I know that there's some additional conversations that I definitely want to have with your group, because those other strategies that I talked about, it's great opportunity. If it's not your zone of genius, let TurnKey be the zone of genius for those people that, hey, how else do I make money other than advertising and sponsorship? We'd love to be able to help them. Tom, thanks for sharing. So gowildcast.com, is that the website?
Yes, sir. Gowildcast.com. Anyone can reach out to me directly if they need a little bit more information at tom@gowildcast.com. And either way, through the website, you'll find everything you need.
All right. Tom, thanks for being here. Thanks for sharing. For those of you in our community, make sure gowildcast.com, sign up today. Again, no connection with TurnKey. There is no revenue share for me to have Tom on the show. I thought it was a valuable service that I wanted to offer you guys. And, for those of you that are out there that are in the podcasting space, thinking about podcasting or listening to Own Nice Guys and just curious, hey, how do people make money podcasting? This is an avenue that you can do it. Tom, thanks for sharing on the show today.
No problem. Thank you as well, Doug.
Nice Guy community, never underestimate the power of nice. Again, special thanks to Tom Donohue. All of his information, including access to gowildcast.com, will be right there in the show notes. Steve O'Brien, go ahead and take us out of here.
For the Nice Guys on Business, I'm Steve O'Brien. Fill up your week with the nice guys. Well, there's always money in the banana stand.